Hi, we are the Group C Secured and we are going to discuss about information security policy, standards, and practices. Upon completion of this topic, we should be able to first understand the definition of information security, understand why information security is important and objectives, understand why information security is important and their purpose, and lastly, understand the importance of information security policy, standard, and practices. But before we discuss about information security policy, standard, and practices, let's talk about first what is information security. Information security is a protection of information and its critical elements, including systems and hardware that use, store, and transmit information. Information security is a well-informed sense of assurance that the information risks and controls are in balance. Why is information security is important? Because we store and access information in various devices such as mobiles, laptops, documents, and verbal. We handle various types of valuable information like customer data, business data, and financial data. The objectives of information security are the CIA triad. C stands for confidentiality, I for integrity, A for availability. Confidentiality means secret or private. Only individuals with authorization should access data and information assets. Integrity, being honest. Data should be intact, accurate, and complete, and its IT system must be kept operational. Availability means the quality of being able to be used, or users should be able to access information or system when needed. Let's move on information security policy. A policy is a plan or a course of actions as of a government, political party, or business intended to influence and determine decisions, actions, and other matters. Policies are organization laws. Policies must contain information on what is right and what is not, what the penalties are for violating policy, and what the appeal process is. Standards, on the other hand, are more detailed statements of what must be done to comply with policy. Practices, procedures, and guidelines effectively explain how to comply with policy. For a policy to be effective, it must be properly disseminated, read, understood, and agreed to by all members of the organization.
Continuation of the report. What is the purpose of an information security policy and why do we need it? The purpose of it is to establish a general approach to information security that is needed to address those threats that have exposed a portion of organization. It is to implement strategies on how to mitigate those threats and how to recover from threats. From the word itself, security, it means to be secure for a system, organization, or entity. Another purpose of it is to detect and preempt information security breaches, because in an organization, there's some person that is knowledgeable enough that may lead to misuse of networks, data, applications, and computer systems. Next is to maintain the reputation of the organization and uphold ethical and legal responsibilities, because once it is broken, it will Next is incident response policy, an organized approach to how the organization will manage and remediate an incident. Because there's a situation that an incident will happen, so this policy will work. Next is remote access policy. It is acceptable methods of remotely connecting to internal networks. It is more about all networks. Next is email communication policy. Outlines how employees can use the business choosing electronic communication channels such as email, Slack, or social media. For me, this is what I have experienced during my work because I am a working student. We have an application in social media that we use in communication. It's like Telegram, Messenger, or other social media platforms. Next is disaster recovery policy. It is the organization's cybersecurity and IT team's input into an overall business continuity plan. Because we cannot predict the situation that will be coming ahead, so there's an cybersecurity IT teams that has this continuity plan to recover its business. Lastly, in my report is the business continuity plan, which means this is the coordination effort across the organization and is used in the event of a disaster to restore the business to a working order. So it is understandable that this continuity plan is to restore the business if something will happen to the organization.
Let's continue for the information security policy. Data classification policy outlines how your organization classifies its data. Data classification policy helps us to categorize data in a way that conveys the sensitivity of information, such as that data must be safeguarded for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. In short, data classification policy is the personification of an organization's tolerance for risk. Sunod kay ang IT Operations and Administration Policy outlines how all departments and IT work together to meet compliance and security requirements. IT Operations and Administration Policy should work together to meet compliance and security requirements. Lack of cooperation between departments may lead to configuration errors. Ang sunod kay ang SaaS and Cloud Policy. So kanyang SaaS, napasabot ani kay Software as a Service. So turol na to. SaaS and Cloud Policy provides the organization with clear cloud and SaaS adoption guidelines. This help mitigate third-party and fourth-party risk. Kaning SaaS and Cloud Policy provides the organization with clear cloud and SaaS adoption guidelines. This policy can help mitigate ineffective complication and poor use of cloud resources. SaaS money ang method of software delivery that allows data to be accessed from any devices with internet connection and browser. Ang example ani kay ang Google. Sunod kay ang Identity Access and Management or IAM policy. Outlines how IT administrators authorize systems and applications to the right employees and how employees create passwords to comply with security standards. And there is sa Identity Access Management or IAM policy, IT administrators authorize systems and applications to the right individuals and let employees how to use and create password in a secure way. A simple password policy can reduce identity and access risk. Ang sunod kay ang Data Security Policy. Data Security Policy outlines the technical requirements and acceptable minimum standards for the data security to comply with relevant laws and regulations. This security policy, it specifies details about how customer data, employee, intellectual property, and other sensitive information is to be handled. But sometimes it is referred to as customer data security policy. But as the broader term, the security policy is more accurate. Ang sunod kay ang privacy regulations. Privacy regulations outlines how the organization complies with government-enforced regulations such as GDPR that are designed to protect customer privacy. So kaniyang GDPR kanin mo ni siya sa European Union, mini sa GDPR kay ang General Data Protection Regulation. Pero ang kanisa to sa Pilipinas kay namatay country sa privacy no or Philippine Data Privacy Law. Mao kini ang katong Data Privacy Law and Privacy Regulations mo ang Data Privacy Act of 2011 and Consumer Act of Philippines of 1991. Ang sunod kay ang Personal and Mobile Devices Policy. Personal and Mobile Devices Policy outlines if employees are allowed to use personal devices to access company infrastructure and how to reduce the risk of exposure from employee-owned assets. There is a Personal and Mobile Devices Policy. Nowadays, most of organizations have moved to the cloud. Creating a policy for proper security of personal devices can help prevent exposure to threat via employee-owned assets. Susunod, so mao na ni tanan ang katong sa information security policy. So kani di na punta sa information security standards. What is information security standards? It represents a set of requirements that a product or a system must achieve, assuming the conformity of a product or system with a certain standard demonstrate that it fulfills all the standards specifications, a common set of rules, definitions, and agreed regulations that all parties can refer to for common reference. A standard would be a set of minimum requirements that an organization must meet in order to claim to be. So let's continue. Why do we need information security standards? We need information security standards in order to implement information security controls and also to meet an organization's requirements as well as a set of controls for business relationships with other organizations, and also to have a common standard on best practice for information security management. So yung ani ka importante ang information security standard kay dili man ta pwede nga mag-implement na ng information security. Dapat maguna standard or kung pati pamantayan ba or sa tuwang information security. So sunod ang 11 Essentials Control or 11EC. Kani mo ni siyang requirements and compliance of the information security criteria by the standard body of ISMS. So ang kani siya mo ni ang katong mga kailangan na para kani kwalipikado siya nga or kani siya nga standard din siya. Kung kani sila kompleto ning 11 essential controls. So ang una, information security policy, communications and operations management, access control, information system acquisition, development and maintenance, organization of information security, asset management, information security incident management, business continuity management, human resources security, physical environmental security, and last, compliance. So mao gini siya no nakasulod sa kaning 11 EC or ang 11 essential controls ko. Kani sila kaning naay information security. Kung kani sila kwalipikado, kung kani sila naay kompleto sila 11 ka EC senior controls. So kani ni sa kuan standard sa information security. So ang sunod mao ni kung saan pag mao ni ang example sa table no sa mao ni ang table nga napakita nga comparison sa 5 ka ISMS standards deal with issue of information security. So kani example ani kaning kalima na sila kabuk ka information security standard information security na kani sila nagpakita rin sa 11 kung insa tong na mga kanang gipan-checkan mao nang naay kana sila nga ISO kaya kana sila na mo nang ipasabot nga na ilaha. So ang kanirang wala diri aning sana ITIL version 4.0 wala sila communication and process management kanang information system acquisitions development and maintenance ug human resources security and physical and environmental security. So kaning nas ikaapat kulang og upat pud no. So ang kompleto ra diri ang ISO 27001 and BS 7799 ug ang isa kay COVID version 4.1. So ang sunod kay information security standards. Ang sample nino kay ang ISO 27001 is a vendor and technology neutral international recognized standard which provides companies with a risk-based approach to securing their information. However, companies that have implemented an ISO 27001 based IMS can demonstrate many efficiencies and other benefits such as increased reliability and security of systems, increased profits, reduced costs, compliance with legislation, improved management, improved customer and partner relationships. So kani example sa information security standards ang ISO 27001 nga kani sila naghandle na siya kanang mga benefits no nagipakita diri atong benefits increase reliability, increase profit, reduce cost. So kani mong ano gud na nako gid kining tama sa organization or sa kumpanya no kung naay information security standards. Let's continue. Do all businesses need them? The answer is, it depends. For example, if you operate in certain industries, then you may need them, or if you process credit cards, you need to be compliant with the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard or PCI DSS. In general, though it would be viewed as good business practice for the company to be compliant with the information security standard. So next is the information security practices. Why is information security practices important? Well, information is the asset that powers and enables our business. Information security practices helps the organization to reduce risk of data breach. Any loss of information can affect the organization in terms of money, time, and reputation. So, importante gud ka security practices no kay mao gud ni naghalas og power sa atong mga business o sa atong organization. So kung naging information security practices makakuan gyud ani sa mga risk of sa data breach. So kung makakuan ta ng information security, kung maapektuhan na atong information security atong information, daw kay apekto sa tuang organization in terms of sa atong kwarta, reputasyon o sa atong oras. Sunod kay ang what are the information security practices? So mao ni ang mga information security practices. Mao ang una ang access control. Wear your badge or ID while at work inside and outside the office. So kita ko nata sa kumpanya na trabaho or nata sa organization napasulod sa gawas man sa opisina dapat to gining ginasuot no kaya para iwas disgrasya para iwas kana sa mga intruder. Sunod ang email security. Do not click or open there if there is a suspicious link or an attachment. So dili ka patakatag bislit ko na ka makitaan nga mga email na kulit na yung mga attachment patakaka kag pindot kay wata kabalo nga ikon sa mga hacker sa mga intruder pag imon nang i-click na ay makusad na yung mga ghost na mga malicious photos, videos kung gawas sa kalit ang mas lisod pa kanunay makuhaan ang inyo ang information sa employees kundi mga confidential information sa mga customers. Ang sunod kay ang internet security. While using ang internet, do not download unauthorized software. So, di ito mapataka-taka kung sa trabaho sa kumpanya, no? Kay, kita mag-mataka-tag download laban na itong gamit ng computer sa kumpanya. Tataka-download, makakabalo nga. Pag-download yung mo ito na kuha taran information sa itong computer, no? Sunod ang social media usage. While participating in social media, do not disclose confidential information. So, kita kung gamit social media niya nato sa company or sa organization, hindi na matatakag-share o ka ng mga information sa confidential information sa kumpanya kay murta na way utok matatakag so this kumpanya imong ipanghatag ang ilang information. Sunod ani kay connecting to Wi-Fi. Always connect secure Wi-Fi hotspot. So dito patatag akani surod ani kay walay Wi-Fi ang walay password ang Wi-Fi. Dira masulod ta nya wata kabalo nga mga intruder naman dito di ay nang gusto nga makapag-info sa kumpanya organization nato. Sunod ang start with security limit scope. Start by limiting scope and securely disposing of personal information that your company doesn't need to operate. So, atong limitahan, no? Atong secure good sa mag-dispose ta ng personal information at atong kumpanya. Nga dili kailangan nga operate. Sunod ang train employees on security. General information security awareness programs for employees should include basic training on social engineering, which can convince users to unknowingly hand over sensitive information like passwords to criminals. So dapat ato gining kung nato yung dapat ato gining ginatrain ang mga trabahante, no, para sa atong about sa security kay isud man kayo nga hatag tang mawata ka man tayo nakahatag na itag sensitibo nga information para sa lang password at kabalo nato hatag sa mga intruder or kundi sa criminal nga gusto makabalo sa to ang mga confidential informations ron sa sunod inventory devices that eliminate exposure to external networks. Any industry has certain devices that contain sensitive information that shouldn't be connected to and exposed to external networks. So kaning dapat ang kanang mga organization or kanang mga company may mga device nga nag-contain nga mga sensitive information nga dili dapat basta-basta na makakonect ng mga lain ng intruder na gusto mo sa mga confidential information. Dili basta-basta na-connect ang lain para dili yun would expose.
Good day. So, continuation ni siya sa practices in information security. So, other practices in information security is encrypt sensitive data. So, dapat katong mga sensitive data is naka-encrypt to siya or encrypt or encryption. So, ang ako nasabtan aning encryption is it is a process ni siya of encoding information, no, nga ang original information nimo known as plain text is iyang i-convert into an alternative form known as ciphertext na ang authorized ra nga person ang makabalik sa ciphertext into plain text para ma-access niya ang original nimo nga information. So, muna siyang encryption. The FTC or Federal Trade Commission recommends encrypting sensitive stored data and in-transit data using methods like TLS, Transport Layer Security, or SSL, Secure Sockets Layer Encryption, data at rest encryption, or an iterative cryptographic hash. Other is use secure remote access methods. So, dapat natay mga methods no nga gamiton kung mag-access ta over the internet aron nga mas secure ang atong paggamit or pag-access over the internet. So isa ana is ang VPN or Virtual Private Network. Isa ni siya sa mga na mga free nga application ani. Isa sa features ani is maka-connect ka or maka-connect ka sa lain nga server like Canada or Indonesia, no? O dili pug ka ma-locate anyang imong location, so mo nang secure siya. Other is strong non-default password plus 2FA. So dapat atong mga password no dili siya default, dapat strong ang atong mga password. For example, sa strong nga password is dapat na big letter or small letter, naka-mix na siya na numbers. Dili kay ang imong password kay birthday ra pod nimo, so dili na siya strong nga password kay try na siya login imong birthday, so accessible kay ang imong system. Plus dapat 2FA or two-factor authentication. So pasabot aning two-factor authentication is kaduha siya mag-verify sa user or ana nga person kung iya bagid na ang account. Other is enact the principle of least privilege. So role-based access control limits the amount of permission or access to the certain network resources and database on job functions. So dapat for example database nimo dapat limited lang ang na-privilege na ma-access ana. Dapat limited lang ang maka-access sa imong database sa mga certain network resources nimo. Other is implement network segmentation. So by classifying sensitive data and related IT assets or systems and then restricting access to these systems, you can achieve network segmentation. From the word segmentation, i-divide niya or iyang ilahi or ibahin. Dapat kabalo ka sa imong mga sensitive data, mga important information, kana mga data or information nga importante is dapat restricted lang ang maka-access ana niya. Other is keep system logs. So logs kabalo na tani mga activity logs. Logging the activity of system can help security auditors and investigators find the source of any issues. So dapat nakasave yun na siya tanan nga mga activity logs sa imong system para if in case of na mga issues about sa imong system is dali ra siya matrace. So last is update software to avoid vulnerability exposure. Get a patch management system in place and maintain awareness of new vulnerabilities which can literally pop up nearly every day. So update software, dapat mag-update yun sa atong software kay para ma-avoid nato ang mga vulnerability, no? Avoid nato ang mga, for example, vulnerability means weak na mga weakness sa atong software nga pwede expose sa mga attackers or for example hackers, pwede nila ma-expose na ang weakness sa imong system. So dapat aware ta atong i-maintain ang awareness sa mga bag-o nga mga weaknesses sa atong systems. Mo na nga dapat mag-update ta permanente sa atong software. So moto ang mga practices in information security. Karon diri na ta sa summary. So summary, information security is a protection of information and its critical elements, including systems and hardware that use, store, and transmit information. So information security, from the word security, so iyang i-secure ang imong information, imong data. And information security policy aims to enact protections and limit the distribution of data to only those with authorized access. So ang policy ang mga policy sa information security is nag-aim na siya para sa protections, no, og limit the distribution of data nga kadtorang mga authorized person ang maka-access anang imong data. Information security standards are needed in order to implement information security controls to meet an organization's requirement, as well as a set of controls for businesses or for business relationships with other organizations. So daghan kayo no og mga information security standards. Kailangan of course no, kinahanglan jud kayo ni sa atong system. Of course para sa security sa atong system og para pud ma-meet nato ang mga organizations requirements. Information security practices. So it helps the organization to reduce risk of a data breach. Practices, from the word practices, so dapat i-practice nato ning nga mga practices nga gidiscuss kagain na para ma-secure nato ang atong information o mga important data para pod nga ma-reduce ang risk of ma-reduce ang risk sa mga data breaches. Og mao ra to. Thank you.